Have you had a good week? Even in this heat, you came here to sit and study. So I also have to do my best, right? What is it? Lunch. Did you eat? Oh, good. There's just a bit left to cover, but we have to finish it, right? You all need to stay until the end to hear this. Avoid falling into a trap on your own. That's the meaning here. If you think the wrong thought, you might unknowingly fall into a trap. So you have to think carefully. It is easy to avoid an arrow shot by an enemy, but it is difficult to block a spear thrown by someone who has done you a favor. Do you understand? An arrow shot by an enemy is easy to avoid. What's an enemy? It's someone who is your adversary. If an enemy shoots an arrow, you know they are your foe, so it's easier to dodge it. But if someone who has done you a favor throws a spear at you, it's hard to block. Do you get it? You understand, right? A person who has received a favor shouldn't harbor such thoughts. It is easy to avoid a trap during hard times, but it is difficult to escape a trap during happy times. That's what it says. So, traps in hard times are easier to avoid. People who've experienced hardships know how to manage. Those who haven't won't know how. These days, in the heat, why don't you try working at a construction site? How would it feel? You wouldn't manage it. But traps during happy times are harder to escape. Living life, you need to know both the sweet and the bitter. That's how you understand the hardships of others. If you live a life of constant comfort, you can't understand such feelings. If all you do is talk about good things and think about good things, what kind of life experience or fulfillment does that bring? Isn't that true? When it comes to enemies, you're always cautious. It's easier to dodge an arrow shot by an enemy. It is said that it's difficult to be harmed by the spear thrown by someone who has helped you. Isn't that a good saying? Can you understand what I'm saying? Can you hear me? If you can't hear, that won't do. Why is that? Of course, if you can clearly distinguish between public and private matters, if you can distinguish clearly between gong and private, as we say in Chinese characters, if you can distinguish between them well, it won't be an issue. But that's not an easy thing to do. It is said that when you receive help, there is always a price to pay. So you shouldn't carelessly accept help. Receiving help from others carelessly is not right. Help is free, isn't it? So you shouldn't recklessly accept help. It is said that while it's easy to escape a trap during difficult times, it's much harder to escape a trap set during times of joy and delight. This is the flow of the saying, isn't it? Why is that? It is said that wealth and fame always come with envy and jealousy, so one might unknowingly fall into a trap. Therefore, it is wise for a person to step back when fortune comes. If you think deeply about this, you can truly grasp the meaning of life. This is connected to greed. Greed, isn't it? Let's say you're a minister. When the time comes, it might be nice to stay longer, but you have to step down. That's why clinging to that position because of greed is not right. Do you understand? Life, and death too, are like this. It would be great to live 200 or 300 years, but it doesn't work out as you wish. If it did, how wonderful would that be? If you live 100 years, oh, then that's just the beginning. If your lifespan were 300 years, then 100 years would just be a fraction of the time left. You could be carefree thinking like that. But if you know you'll only live 8,090 years, then, there's not much time left before I die, and you start to worry. What will I do? Where will I go after I die? Don't those thoughts cross your mind? Do they? Those who answer probably don't have much time left, and those who don't answer probably think they still have a long way to go. But just because it seems far doesn't mean it actually is. Life being long isn't necessarily a good thing. Even if you die now, everyone will die someday. The difference is whether you go early or late. If you go early and end up in a good place, isn't that a good thing? If you go late and end up sitting as a beggar, what's the point? If you turn into a ghost and sit in an abandoned house, how miserable would that fate be? Every empty house is ghosts, without exception. No matter how nice a house is, if it's locked up and left empty, it becomes a haunted house for sure. A haunted house means it's occupied by ghosts. Understand? So, don't dwell on such things, live your life meaningfully. even for just a single day. Whether there is no matter or there is a matter, face the surroundings, and even if things have already changed, the direction within the nation will still be determined. Green leaves remain pure without disputes, and every pathway leads to finding a sincere person. How does that sound? When things are going well, people tend to think they'll always stay that way. But that's not true. There are times of sadness, difficulties, and even times when poverty makes life extremely hard. That's what I'm trying to prepare you for by reading this to you. So, the better things are going, the more you should prepare for difficult times. Do you like listening to this when I read it? Try practicing it yourself at home sometime. Alright, when things are going well, always prepare for the times when they might not, so that you can prevent unexpected adversities and difficulties. That's the meaning. Understand? When things are going well, if you remain calm as if they were, in the end, you can deal well with the challenges that come your way. You can effectively prevent difficulties. That's the meaning. Got it? This is a very wise saying, isn't it? Usually, when things are going well, people live leisurely. But when unexpected adversity strikes, they scramble to respond. By then, it's already too late. If you develop a habit of anticipating difficulties and preparing for them in advance, you can skillfully navigate through hardships. When things aren't going well, if you calm your mind as if they were, in the end, you can overcome any situation. This is the wisdom of life. That's what it says. You shouldn't only focus on the present reality in front of you. When walking down a road, how can you know if there's a pit ahead or if you might run into something? If you only look directly ahead? Isn't that so? To sum it up, it means to live wisely. Understood? People without wisdom face many difficulties in life, extremely so. Wealth can disappear overnight, so you must live your life with wisdom. Living without wisdom, even ghosts lack wisdom. Therefore, they can't find their way and end up sitting in haunted houses, sitting in empty houses, crouching under eaves, sitting under bridges, and so on. You might not know this well, but after you die, take a look and see. Am I lying? I'm saying this because I can see it all. If I couldn't see, then it would be a lie. Do you know what reality is? Reality is what you see with your own eyes and go towards. A reality that you don't see can lead to mistakes. Isn't that right? The reality I see and go towards is unmistakable. A reality you only hear from others and don't see for yourself will inevitably lead to mistakes. A flower grows where a seed is planted. A demon arises from its source. And where there are consequences, they stem from prior causes. Happiness is reaped where merit is cultivated, and order is maintained when wisdom prevails. What does this mean? Nothing happens without a cause. If a person engages in something baseless, they are bound to make mistakes. That's what it means. Understand? So, don't do things recklessly. You need wisdom to carry out your actions. That's the message. Got it? Even when a person dies, they must do so with wisdom. If you die recklessly, you won't find your way. You'll wander aimlessly, wondering, where should I go now? I'm dead. It's the same for both the living and the dead, because ghosts exist. When a moth flutters its wings before a flame, the fire burns the moth. Similarly, a gambler who loves gambling loses their money. It's the same principle when trying to take someone else's money. You lose your own. If a moth flutters near a flame, will the fire extinguish or will the wings burn? It's the same idea, isn't it? Don't say there's no cause for anger. When someone gets angry, there's always a reason behind it. That's the point. Understand? A flower blooms where a seed is sown, and fruit forms where flowers bloom. Similarly, there's a cause behind the happiness that rolls in. Isn't that obvious? A flower blooms, and fruit follows. If there's no flower, it's not real fruit. Understand? So, plants like figs or ginkgo don't bloom flowers. That's why they aren't real fruit. Got it? Do you understand now? By studying like this, one day you'll eventually pass the bar exam and become a judge or prosecutor. You'll know everything. What wouldn't you know when I've taught you everything? When a moth flies toward a flame, it's natural for the fire to burn the moth. This is not a death without reason. Misfortune is similar. You plant the seeds of evil and invite it yourself. You go and ignite it. Did someone else or the fire coax you into it? Isn't that right? Misfortune is like this, planting the seeds of evil and inviting it oneself. Just as seeds must be planted for flowers to bloom and fruit to grow, there must be a cause for there to be an effect. How can one expect results without planting the seeds of happiness? You have to sow virtue to receive blessings. Flowers must bloom before fruit can form. And one must work hard to earn wealth to become rich. Isn't that so? That's the meaning. What is this? This is the thought of interdependent arising. You have to earn money for it to accumulate. How can money pile up if you don't earn it? Isn't that so? It's the same with Buddhism. You have to come and learn Buddhism, study it, accumulate knowledge, and gain awakening. Can I escort you to the Yonghwa world when you die? No, I can't. So you have to go on your own, right? To go by yourself, you need to learn awakening. If someone who has been to Seoul argues with someone who hasn't, the one who hasn't been there will often win the argument. Why? Because their stubbornness is stronger. The threshold of Namdaemun is like a jujube tree threshold. So someone says, there's no threshold. Go see it, I've been there. But if you haven't been there yourself, you can't prove it. Isn't that so? To live life, you need wisdom. Wisdom. When it's time to die, where will you go if told to go? You can't go if you don't know. Why do we teach children and educate them? To open their eyes, their inner eyes. What is enlightenment? It's vision, it's the eyes. We become enlightened by seeing, don't we? Can you be enlightened without seeing? No matter how much a teacher instructs you, if you can't see with your eyes, it's useless. You see with your eyes, and it gets registered in your mind. Have you seen anything get registered without seeing? When you see a flower, you think, wow, the flower is beautiful. You look with your eyes and it gets registered. Is that right or not? If your eyes are not open, even when you see a flower, how will you know if it is a forsythia, a weed, or a dandelion? Isn't that right? So, these eyes are precious. The eyes must be enlightened. The same goes for deceased spirits. If their eyes aren't enlightened, they can't go even if you tell them to go. They need to see to go. Where would they go? They can't go to the land of eternal peace, not even the grand land of eternal peace, right? They can't go. These days, there are navigation systems and T-maps that guide you to any address you enter. But this is an issue. So people live relying on that now. In life, if you observe well, you can understand, right? Should I read this again? Great merits and vast undertakings cannot emerge in haste. They arise from calmness and composure. Flowing water and still trees hold steady, observing the long path of prosperity and enduring peace, which remain boundless. Thus, generous hearts and thoughtful minds yield endless blessings. How is it? Am I good at this? You lose track of time, don't you? Stay with me. Don't leave. Great accomplishments mean not living life in a rush. Great accomplishments and remarkable plans stem from a calm and composed mind. There's no need to live in constant haste. Good omens and great blessings naturally gather in a generous and warm-hearted home. Naturally, people want to go to kind and generous homes, not places like this one. Isn't that true? Good omens and great blessings gather in generous and kind-hearted homes. That's correct, isn't it? How could one treat others harshly? When dealing with others, always meet them warmly with a smile, saying, "Have you come? Welcome." Such warmth puts visitors at ease. But if you sit there glaring, thinking, "What are they doing here? How strange. Did they come to ask for something?" That kind of mindset is not good. You see, just as the saying goes, the more hurried you are, the slower you should go. A composed and calm person is well prepared for the future. Even when unexpected disasters strike, they remain calm and well prepared. Furthermore, a broad-minded and gentle-hearted person, with profound compassion naturally attracts blessings, and brings many good things to their household. Don't rush into anything. Carefully assess the situation before starting. People who are overly stingy or miserly aren't good to be around. Understand? Nowadays, during June or July, you could gather some mugwort from the fields, make delicious mugwort rice cakes, invite people over, and enjoy eating and playing together. If you make it with wheat flour, it's for those who are poor. People who are slightly better off make it with rice flour. When made with rice flour, it's decent. But when made with wheat flour, it's hard to digest. Why? Because wheat flour is not easy to digest. It's a cold food. But I've repeatedly said that people need to accumulate virtue. You have to accumulate virtue. If it's all about what's mine and what's yours, life becomes too harsh and cold. Isn't that right? It's too cold-hearted. The joy of life comes from sharing warmth with others. If you don't even know who your neighbors are, don't know their surnames, then there's something wrong with that. Isn't that true? Looking at this, if a person is truly virtuous, they should take good care of their neighbors. Even a modest amount of food can nourish the body, if taken with care and proper preparation. It was taught to practice moderation in eating. Moderation. Moderation means eating less, where so means small and seek means meal. So, it means to eat small portions. It doesn't mean eating less when earning less money, and eating more when earning more. That's not the point. Why are you laughing? It's true. Eating a lot shortens your lifespan. That's why it's said that a stork can live 50 years on just one freshwater snail. Understood? After having a simple meal made of barley rice and mung bean sprouts, when you put down the spoon, your mouth feels fragrant. It was said, it feels fragrant because you ate lightly, right? Obesity is said to be the cause of all diseases. That's how important diet control is to health. Nowadays, people engage in intermittent fasting, which is said to eliminate internal toxins and revive dead cells. But you shouldn't force yourself to starve. You should gradually start eating small, light meals. But excessive fasting can actually cause obesity. So, a modest meal is the best. When you have starved, you shouldn't eat a lot all at once. The intestines will stretch out, and for the home to feel fragrant, you must also manage the words that come out of your mouth well. Useless words and excessive food are like toxins that dirty your mouth. The words of a person are also precious. The mouth is not just for eating. You need a mouth to speak. If you can't use your mouth, would you speak with your hands? Like this with hands? Wouldn't that be troublesome? To call someone coming or to send off someone going. Other than that, you can't use anything else, right? Or not? This means that human speech is truly valuable. In life, about 60 to 70% depends on words, on speech. Then comes action. Speech is precious. One wrong word can create lifelong enemies. Isn't that right? So what do you do? Really, the mouth is important, speech is, too. In idleness, do not squander in busyness. Embrace flowing vitality. In calm, do not fall into emptiness in movement. Embody fluidity. In darkness, refrain from deceit and clarity. Radiate sincerity. Be steadfast as earth and water beneath the heavens, and keep the country steady and secure. How is it? When the body is at ease, the mouth is at ease too, isn't it? But when the mouth is overactive, what happens? You gain weight. Why are you laughing? You should rest your mouth sometimes. If you overeat, you'll gain weight. It's the first time you've heard such a thing, isn't it? You wouldn't hear this elsewhere, only at Yonghwa temple. If you don't waste time in idleness, it greatly helps in busyness. Not wasting time when idle is very important. If I don't eat, I should at least give it to someone else. Isn't that right? If you don't fall into emptiness during calm moments, it greatly helps when working. If you don't deceive others in the dark, it greatly helps in the light. If you refrain from deceit in darkness, it greatly helps in the light. Deceiving others is a truly bad habit, isn't it? What do you call that? A fraud. You haven't experienced being scammed, have you? That's why you don't fully understand. If you waste time idly just because you're not busy, you may find yourself lost when things suddenly get hectic. If you take the time to find tasks to do and prepare in advance, no matter how busy you become, you'll be able to handle it. Time is equally given to everyone. How you use it determines success or failure. Isn't that true? So, a diligent person will always find room for ease, even if they don't do many things. But a lazy person always faces this kind of risk. Understand? You need to be diligent, right? Why do I tell you to prepare in advance? Because being diligent is what allows you to prepare. If you remain idle, you might end up facing disaster later, right? Also, if you dwell on useless thoughts just because you feel lonely, you may find yourself engulfed in mental anguish or even lethargy. So, you need to be careful. This kind of excessive emptiness can sometimes lead to depression. You must manage your thoughts wisely. Just because you're alone doesn't mean you have to feel lonely. And just because you're with others doesn't mean it's always fun. That's not what life is about. What does it matter if you're alone or with someone? If you're finding it hard to be alone, you could go and give an elderly person a shoulder massage, couldn't you? But instead of doing that, some people entertain foolish thoughts, wasting their time gambling or playing pachinko. That's how lives are ruined, right? If you spend too much time alone, you might fall into delusions. How could someone like that ever succeed? Isn't that true? Why does depression happen? I don't really understand depression. Have any of you experienced it? It seems like some of you here might have. Have you? Or haven't you? You probably only get depressed when you lose money. A sincere person follows the law well and does their best even when no one is around, right? Deceiving others just because it is dark and they can't see you is not the order of a true life. So, watchful eyes are to be feared. There are things that see at night and things that see during the day. Isn't it so? There are too many laws when living life. Living life. If you make even a small mistake, you will be detained and investigated, and it's extremely hard to live. You all should aim not to reincarnate, but to live in the land of eternal peace. Even if you come back, what's the use of making a lot of money? You have to pay taxes. If there's a labor dispute, you have to appease the workers. It's hard to live. If your wife nags, you have to appease her. If your children cause trouble, you have to deal with that too. You just can't live. Isn't that right? And you're not even living for hundreds of years. You suffer and then you die. This time, I received the precepts from the Buddha and reincarnated, but the Buddha said that we continuously reincarnate. If the Buddha weren't here, would I reincarnate again? Is this the last time? You might have doubts about such things too. See? That's what they say. So what did I say? I said to receive the precepts multiple times. Even if you live 100 years and receive them 3 times, that's 300 years, right? You can come 3 times. If you receive them 5 times, that's 500 years. If you receive them 10 times, you can live 1,000 years. So, you could come and go 10 times for 100 years each time. Why are you laughing? No. Think about it quickly. Isn't what I am saying correct? The next life of Guan Buzzle from Busan. That's what we should call it. The next life. Do you know what the next life is? I see you do. This person probably received the precepts more than 10 times, right? No response. Are your ears deaf? Such people come 10 times and live 1,000 years. This, talking a lot makes my mouth dry. It dries up, and my energy drains. This is the first time anyone has brought me something during a sermon at Yonghwa Temple. The first, even after I've done so much. No appreciation. This is the first time I'm trying it. Listening is free, but giving is stingy. They only bring plain water. Plain water. But I'm not a carp, you know. You all must listen well. These teachings are incredibly precious. Got it? These words are the key to your future. The teachings are so valuable, listen closely, alright? I'm sharing this teaching after 60 years. Think about it. If you wander for just 10 years after graduating school, you forget everything you learned. But after 60 years, my mind flows with knowledge like a stream. Isn't that amazing? It's incredible, right? A generous and harmonious mind leads to fullness. The world without flaws dissolves naturally. With calm reflection, find equilibrium, embracing the boundless flow of existence. What does this mean? It emphasizes being harmonious and generous. It also warns that if one acts maliciously, they will inevitably face repercussions later. Understood? If you harm others out of anger or push them into ruin, you will eventually reap the consequences. That's the meaning here. Got it? Be harmonious and generous. That's the title. If you view the world with a harmonious heart, it becomes a flawless place that dissolves naturally. Therefore, one must always view the world with a harmonious mind, and without flaws. Flaws shouldn't exist, right? A world where life progresses seamlessly, where one views the world with a generous and peaceful heart, will see even the most hostile human tendencies naturally disappear. That's what it said, right? Isn't it a beautiful statement? There is a proverb called Samgaya Yasin. Samgaya Yasin means that all laws of the three realms are false creations born of ignorant delusion, and are entirely dependent on a single thought of the mind. Do you understand? Humans, unlike animals, are beings of character who observe morality and law. That's the point. So, Samgaya Yasin implies that if a person disregards character and respect for others, they are no better than an animal. Got it? Therefore, humans must always value and respect one another. Understood? Even a grandfather can learn much from his grandson. When people abandon morality and act carelessly, it is behavior that goes against Samgaya Yasin. Understand? So, humans, unlike animals, live differently from animals. Animals live recklessly, but humans, as beings of character, live by observing morality, don't they? Thus, character is a crucial element in defining one's nature. When everyone possesses harmonious and generous character, conflicts cease to exist, and the flaws of the world vanish. If someone behaves like an animal, they belong to the realm of animals. If they act like humans, they belong to the human realm. Isn't that true? People who recklessly hurl insults, even at the Buddha Maitreya of Yonghwa, such individuals belong to the animal realm. It's pointless to deal with those who behave thoughtlessly. Do you understand? When you come to Yonghwa, study diligently, and listen to the wise words I convey. These are teachings that are thousands of times more valuable than the doctrines of Shakyamuni Buddha. The content contained here includes all the interdependent arising and gong thought that I speak of. Do not commit sins, for lingering arrears will come later. What does that mean? That's dependent origination. Because you committed a sin, consequences follow, and because you did good, you are called good, right? Isn't it so? So, everything here is created with the interdependent arising and gong thought I talk about. Did you understand? In the flash of stone sparks, quarrels strive for length and brevity. How could a long era be any different? In the world of raindrop like beads, unbound by reliance, flourishing ceaselessly, deeply rooted in the void. What does this mean? If a person accumulates good fortune, that fortune remains forever. And if I do not fully receive it, then future generations or descendants will continue to receive it. That's the meaning. So, if you think, there isn't much of life left, I'll just live carelessly for the remaining days, then the precious words I shared with you lose significance. But if you think about your children and future, these words are precious. Even in the fraction of a second when stones clash and spark, they debate over length and brevity. How could a long era be any different? Even stones produce sparks when they clash. In the past, without matches or lighters, people used flint to cook food. They kept the fire alive. Do you know what flint is? Right. Wow. Bodhisattva, you have quite some experience. How could a long era be different? Even the horns of a snail separate heroes. How could the vast world be different? Snails also have horns. You don't know? When a snail is born, it doesn't have horns immediately. It needs time and experience for the horns to grow. Understood? The transformation process starts from the larvae stage. You know what larvae are, right? That's how it starts. As time passes and the body of the larvae changes into a snail, the horns start to grow. 2 of them. Got it? The horns are important. They serve as sensors. The horns. I'll explain that next time. If I go into all of it now, it'll get too long. In Buddhism, time is considered extremely important. Among the measures of time, a kalpa refers to an incredibly brief moment. The time it takes to cut a short silk thread with a sharp knife is merely 64 kalpas, which, when converted to modern time, is approximately 175 of a second, or 0.013 seconds. Furthermore, the concept of arising and ceasing is said to occur within this moment of kalpa, making it deeply meaningful. Even the moment when stones strike and sparks fly is a kalpa. So 100 years of life is by no means short. Do you understand? You get it, right? Just as sparks arise only when stones strike, life operates in the same way. Got it? If I delve deeper into this, it'll bring tears to your eyes. I better keep it brief. What if you start crying and can't stop until you go home? You'll cry all the way there. Human desire knows no bounds, though 100 years feels like a long time. When you live through it, it's really nothing, right? It's nothing at all. So live the rest of your life meaningfully, and realize enlightenment here in this Dharma hall at Yonghwa Temple. That's how 100 years can extend to 1,000 or 10,000 years, right? Spending such precious time meaninglessly is wasteful. Wasteful, got it? Zhuangzi wrote about a country called Chuo, on the left horn of a snail, and a country called Man, on the right horn. The two countries often fought over territory, leaving tens of thousands of corpses. Even after driving away the retreating enemy, they would find themselves chased again after 15 days. It's an allegory. Even in the narrow world of a snail's horns, humans fight over gain and loss. This is a fable illustrating the futility of such conflicts. Snails, as I mentioned earlier, have horns that act as gauges. Don't you understand the meaning of Ganyamja reference point? Oh, this is frustrating. A Ganyamja is used when one cannot see and must estimate their direction. If someone has eyes, they don't need it because they can simply see. But without sight, one needs to rely on this reference to proceed. For example, if the right reference point keeps signaling, it's indicating to go right. And if the left one signals, it's telling you to go left. That's what it means. Even snails act with self-interest. Even snails. Isn't that fascinating? That's how it is. You might dismiss snails, thinking they're insignificant. But they are not. When I wake up in my hermitage in the morning and look out the window, there's often a large cicada. It stares at me, just about a meter away. Buddha, I've arrived. I lie there quietly, and it seems to say, I've been here for an hour now. But it doesn't tell me to get up. How could it dare tell me to rise? It's just a cicada. So it remains still. I'm not lying. Do you want to see a picture? I've taken plenty of them. If I want to eat breakfast and turn on the air conditioner, the breeze might disturb the cicada, and it might fly away. So, I don't turn it on. I leave the fan still. The cicada stays there for 5 hours, sometimes even longer. It never tells me to get up, it just watches. Looking at me, it seems to say, it's time to eat, isn't it? To which I reply, I can wait a little longer. And it stays put. I'm telling you, this is true. This has been happening for years. Every year, the cicada comes, sticks itself there, and stares. And then, in the mornings, magpies come to wake me up. They make a ruckus. If one magpie's noise doesn't work, 2 or 3 come and start shouting, "Wake up!" They demand. No, a magpie dropped feces on the newspaper, and it made quite a mess. It even screamed loudly, right in front of my door. So, even such a magpie recognizes the Buddha. That's what I'm saying. Got it? When I go out to the field, a little yellow butterflies just follow me 100%. 1, sometimes 2, or 3, come quickly and flutter in front of me, signaling that they're here. Think about it properly. It's always like that. I don't lie. Isn't it interesting? But this part is a bit disappointing. This too only has a few pages left. Even this piece ends as time goes by. But I'm explaining this book to you and giving a Dharma talk. Isn't it interesting? I was going to skip this part and just give a Dharma talk today. But doesn't everything need to be wrapped up properly? Right? So that's why I'm covering this today. 11,540 in the midst of stone sparks burning brightly. In debate over each one, how could the great universe not be timeless? In the wind, dust rises to the sky, which means the entire universe becomes filled with dust. The universe is said to be eternal, isn't it? Even in the instant when stones clash and ignite, they debate on length and brevity. This is a teaching of enlightenment. Even in the instant when stones clash and ignite, debating on length and brevity. How could a long era not be significant? Understood? Even the horns of a snail signify heroic deeds. How could the vast world be insignificant? So, it's not just humans who experience enlightenment. Even snails understand the world and its truths. Snails too. Got it? It's not just humans who are precious. You should not mistreat snails or similar creatures. They hide and reside underground. And when it rains and the earth becomes clean and pure, that's when snails emerge, sliding back into its shell. The snail hides its body, like a spiral shell. It retreats into its shell at night. That's the snail. It doesn't live like an earthworm. It has its own home. Even snails do. So, they have their own wisdom, right? Likewise, people have homes too. Who lives without a home? What do you call them? You probably don't know because you haven't lived as a homeless person. Homeless, a person without a home. But even snails have homes. So, what does that mean? A homeless person is less fortunate than a snail. Isn't that true? We need to say it as it is. This group here hasn't even seen a snail. Do you know snails? Yes or no? Because there are women here. The men must be keeping quiet to maintain composure. Even snails have homes. But imagine a human being born into this world, without a home, sleeping on the streets. That's being worse off than a snail. Do you understand? It's sad if you think about it. In Buddhism, time is considered extremely important. Among the measures of time, kalpa refers to a very short moment. A kalpa is so brief. Do you understand? The time it takes to cut a short silk thread with a sharp knife is just 64 kalpas. I read this earlier. I already read it. Is it coming up again? It's strange. I read this earlier, didn't I? But it seems correct. Lust arises from a single moment's thought, as does the pursuit of honor and power. One's desires chase after grand goals. But in the end, everything fades into impermanence. This is karma's cycle. Humans, when born into the world, always desire what they find appealing. Isn't that right? When they see a beautiful woman, they look once, then twice. Isn't that so? That's why people wear makeup to look pretty. Control your desires, it is said, right? When desire flares up like a fire, think of the time when you're sick, and all that interest will disappear like cooled ashes. Well, do you understand what that means? No response? Even if desires arise like flames, thinking about being ill makes them vanish like cooled ashes. Can someone who is sick even have desires? What does ash mean? What did you say? Speak clearly. Ash is what's left after a fire burns, isn't it? If there's fire, how can you touch the hot ash? It glows red, doesn't it? But once the ash cools, what happens? The fire dies down completely, and the ash flies away in the wind. That's what it means. For an old man, even a pretty wife is unnecessary. What's the point if he's lying down, lifeless and unable to move? What are you doing lying there? Oh, I don't even have the energy to talk. Isn't that how it goes? Right? That's the idea. Even if fame and wealth seem sweet as taffy, when one contemplates death, that sweetness turns bitter, like chewing on beeswax. What is fame? It's what successful people have. People who've earned a lot of money and achieved great success. They don't envy anything, right? Sweeter than taffy? No? But when they think of death, it's like chewing bitter beeswax. Worse than gall. Why laugh? Do you even know what beeswax is? What have you been doing all this time to know so little? Do you know what beeswax is? What did you say? If you speak in a Gyeongsang-do dialect, it's hard to tell whether it's English or Chinese. What did you say? Beeswax refers to honeycombs. Honeycombs are made of beeswax. Honeycombs are created from honey. When you want to understand something, you have to know it for sure. Knowing it halfway makes it useless. Isn't that right? What did you say? Why stop? Let's finish this properly. We can't leave it incomplete. That is the meaning. When you have fame and a lot of money, there is nothing in the world to envy, right? But thinking about death makes it as bitter as soap, which is a very bitter tree. Do you know soap? You probably don't. There's a tree called soap. It's incredibly bitter. So when something is extremely bitter, we say it's as bitter as soap, right? So, because it's as bitter as soap, we should finish these 3 remaining sections. If we leave this for next week, it will be the final time. You want me to go faster? Am I talking too slowly? Therefore, if a person constantly reflects on death and illness, they will eliminate vain delusions and karma, and be inclined to follow a true path. When a person contemplates death, they realize that everything is vain. You don't worry because you have strength now. Just wait a bit. Underneath the persimmon tree recently, I saw a lot of unripe persimmons falling. Everyone ages, gets sick, and dies, right? Thus, birth, old age, sickness, and death are inevitable. Reflecting on this makes lust, fame, and wealth seem like wax. When a person keeps birth, old age, sickness, and death in mind, they realize that the 5 desire for sensual pleasures, food, sleep, fame, and sleep, are futile. The true path lies in distancing oneself from the 5 desires. As it was said, the 5 kinds of desires, right? It's good to keep this in mind well. As for you who have come to Yonghwa, you are of good standing. You all come from honorable families. So words like these may not be needed much for you, right? Some of you aren't responding. Do not covet fame and wealth. If I do not abandon my desire for fame, how can I avoid worrying about gains and wealth? Thus, it is said that if a person is excessively greedy, they will not find a good path after death. If I do not strive for career advancement, how can I fear the risks of office? Exactly. When you look at history, there are many who lost their loyalty and integrity, blinded by wealth and positions of power. A person should not live without loyalty and trust. Understood? Fleeting glory is like a formless shadow. Like lightning, nothing but an illusion. Having money doesn't mean you'll always have it, and neither does fame last forever. Understanding this allows one to overcome great hardships. Integrity is the highest virtue a scholar should possess. People need to cultivate virtue. Without virtue, one cannot become a true scholar. If one doesn't cling to fleeting glories and instead appreciates what they have, even the temptation of immense wealth won't shake them. One should not be blinded by money. In the Han Dynasty's military book Samyak, it says that beneath fragrant bait lies a dead fish, and behind a generous table lurks a hero. Do you know what that means? Do you know what samrak is? It refers to the slimy residue found by the water's edge. Got it? Slime. Beneath the slime are dead fish. Dead fish. And behind a lavish banquet, there's a hero. The saying is that bait for catching fish must be fragrant, and bait for catching people is profit and wealth. When fishing, you need bait to catch fish. Without bait, the fish won't bite. So how do you bait people? Even for people, you need bait. If you're aggressive and glare at them, who would lend you money? You need to be gentle and persuasive to get them to lend money. People are all different. You might not realize it, but there are plenty of bad people. They flatter you to borrow money, but once they become wealthy, they change their attitude when you ask for repayment. Wait, they'll say, I'll pay you back. Just wait. It's best not to lend at all. Wealth and fame acquired without effort are no different from bubbles. If a person makes money without effort and becomes wealthy, it's like bubbles. It is said to be the same as bubbles. You never know when it will disappear. Earning money through effort is building virtue. It means accumulating virtue. Accumulating virtue through tireless effort. It means building great virtue, because money earned through such effort does not disappear easily. The money doesn't flow away. However, money earned haphazardly, whether through brokering or real estate, is not true wealth. Do you understand? Earning money in such a way isn't real wealth. Understand? Let go of attachment to fame and wealth, and you can transcend the mundane world. Let go of the desire for morality and patience, and you can reach the state of a sage. It means to let go of attachment. Do you understand? People should not hold on to attachment. That's why they say, don't attach yourself. If you let go of the pursuit of fame and wealth, you can escape the ordinary world. If you let go of the desire for morality and patience, you can finally reach the state of enlightenment. Isn't that a profound teaching? Attachment is a frightening thing. Once it takes hold, it's hard to let go. This is why even petty theft, once attempted, becomes difficult to stop. It's very frightening. For instance, isn't quitting smoking difficult? That too is attachment. Once you've tasted it, quitting becomes tough. If a person cannot overcome an attachment as small as smoking, how can they hope to achieve great success? Think about it, right? When a person makes up their mind, they should quit as decisively as cutting with a knife, saying, I'll only smoke half a cigarette today, or tomorrow, just 3. Won't work. Your cravings will overwhelm you, and you'll smoke again. This means such a person cannot achieve great things. It means that everyone dreams of wealth and glory, but it's not easily obtained. Fame and wealth are rewards that come along when you find and devote yourself to a single path. Wealth and glory are not something that is simply achieved. How much effort must one put in to achieve wealth and glory, right? However, if one becomes too attached to wealth and glory, they can suffer greatly. Why is that? It means you should not be too greedy. Confucius said, at 70, one can follow their heart's desires without overstepping the bounds of right. Do you know what that means? Confucius said that at 70, even when a person does anything, they do not exceed the bounds of propriety. Why is that? He had enlightenment. Therefore, he did not overstep those bounds. Even if he tried, it wouldn't help him much, so he didn't do it, right? At 70, regardless of what actions one takes, it's as if they are completely uninfluenced by cause and morality. When people get older, if they start something, they can't finish it properly. It's because they're unaware. If you start a business in your old age, would you be able to finish it? Confucius didn't do such things. Do you understand? Why is Confucius called Confucius? Because he doesn't cross the line. Look at Confucius's books. He lived his life without crossing the line. In what he did, it is said that humans do not walk the exact path they seek. They inevitably add desires and attachments. That's why they end up failing. If you handle the work you started well, that's fine. But if it starts to go well, they keep expanding, spreading, expanding, and expanding more. It's the same for companies. Big companies, they eventually collapse. Do you understand? 70 is not the age to be attached to people, but to contemplate. What kind of business would you be doing at 70? What is contemplation? Contemplation means it is time to observe and reflect. Got it? When one lives a life of contemplation, attachment and greed naturally disappear. When one reaches the realm of a true sage, they must transcend even patience, discernment, and morality. That's what it says. Isn't that a wonderful teaching? Got it? Oh, after saying this, there's no more text on the next page. No next page. What is this? Are you enjoying this? Shall I share another great teaching? Ships anchor and moor at various ports, moving with the flow, but inevitably return to their destination, fulfilling their purpose. This means that those with a steady purpose navigate through life like a sage. They say, those who remain centered will guide their vessel, understanding what is right and embracing forward motion, ultimately achieving completeness. What does this mean? Humans are born into a world that never sleeps. Have you ever seen the world sleep? If humans were born and the world fell asleep, where would I go? There would be only one place left. To die, wouldn't it? Without form, but within heaven and earth. This means humans were born out of nothingness, born out of void. Humans came into existence. So how could my path be confined to being an ordinary being? An ordinary being. I am not an ordinary being. Why not? Because I am not bound by death forever, but rather I leave momentarily and return again. That's what it means. Also, leaves sprout and flourish, turn green, but fall in autumn. Though it seems they fall forever, they return in spring. Fruits grow and fall, but this doesn't mean they're gone for good. Next year, they can return again. That's the meaning. Got it? How is it? My mother and father brought me into existence, worked hard through the night, and exhausted themselves creating me. Why are you laughing? When I came into this world, I thought it was dead. If that were the case, there would have been no reason to come here. But this world isn't dead. It's always alive, because emptiness exists. This world of samsara is always alive and not dead. That's the meaning, right? Shall I explain more? If the road I walk while alive leads only to death, I would rather not have come at all, right? But the path I take is glorious, and it is never truly death. Soon, I will return, so wait just a little longer. That's what it means. To my dear friend who bids me farewell in sorrow, know that though I leave now, I will return, so wait for me. That's what it means. When someone leaves their friend behind in death, it may seem like they've gone forever, but tell them to wait a little while. When I return after this journey, we shall meet again. That's the meaning of the words I share. If my parents, who gave birth to me and raised me with care, are far away after I die, will I ever see them again? But wait just a little while. When I reach the world of Yonghwa, I am sure I will find a way to meet my parents again. That's what it means. How is it? Am I doing well? Your parents are important, but so is your health. Isn't that right? Close friends are important too. Even if you just go to a coffee shop for a cup of coffee, it tastes better when you have it with a close friend, right? Chatting can be fun. But when a friend suddenly passes away, it feels like being a falcon that lost its prey. Does anyone know what a falcon that lost its prey means? Anyone? This is a problem. You don't even know a falcon that lost its prey? A falcon, you know what a falcon is, right? A falcon flies high and spots a pheasant playing in the field. It dives down like a bomber. But if the pheasant notices and runs into the grass, the falcon misses its prey. That's why they say a falcon that lost its prey. If a falcon can't catch a pheasant, it can't even be considered a proper falcon. In life, some people will attain enlightenment and become great bodhisattvas, while others, due to lack of wisdom, will wander as common beings, and leave this good world of saha without attaining enlightenment. How can that be considered equal? That's the point. How do you feel about me reading and explaining these wise words to you today? Now that my health is improving, these wise words can make us all, including me, tear up. But it's true. If I didn't, you wouldn't understand. It's really true. So, in living life, every person is equally important. Everybody is precious. There is no one who isn't valuable. Everyone is equally precious. Therefore, it's wrong to look down on people, to belittle those without money because you have money, to believe you are the best and everything you have is the best, to badmouth and criticize others. Such a person is bad. That's not a person, but an animal. Do you know how wonderful this world is? You must live well and enjoy yourself here. When the time comes to leave this world, you must take with you the gong thought. Hold on tight when you grasp it with your fist. If you let go of it, disaster will strike. You must carry it firmly. This book is precious, but any book I interpret becomes different. Any book. Why? Because I interpret it with enlightenment. It becomes different. Even a children's textbook changes when I interpret it, because it's explained through enlightenment. See? So while all books are good, books written even better are of course wonderful. But no matter the book, if I interpret it, it changes. It transforms because I explain it with enlightenment. I used to be renowned in the village schools back in the day. Don't I look like it? Well, how would you know without measuring? This gong thought, listen carefully. The gong thought is the highest enlightenment on earth. On this earth. So, what are father and mother? They are gong thought. Without father and mother, how could I exist? By what ability? Right? So, what is humanity? Then, the belief in reincarnation. I don't deny it. But let's think carefully. If someone claims people must be born because of karma, does that make sense? What is karma? Karma isn't something good, is it? It's bad. Isn't that right? Then how could you come to Yonghwa temple? You could just go out and accumulate karma. Isn't that so? When I explain everything honestly with enlightenment, monks feel displeased, because I reveal everything so thoroughly. but one must know and guide sentient beings. If you hide the truth while guiding, it becomes a sin. So, deceiving people indiscriminately is not a good thing. Gong thought is what the entire world consists of. Got it? And humans are a part of that. Got it? Now think about how much weight a person can lift. Each person is different. Some can lift 20 kilograms. Some stronger ones can lift 40 kilograms. And some can even lift 100 kilograms. That's the limit of humanity. A limitation. Lifting things isn't enlightenment. It's merely a person's limit. I can lift only so much. But look at this. How much can a forklift lift? It can lift dozens or even hundreds of times more than a person. What does that mean? That's enlightenment. Now, who created the forklift? It was created by humans, wasn't it? Right? A machine made by humans can exert hundreds of times the strength of a person. The same applies to enlightenment. If I achieve enlightenment, its weight, figuratively speaking, is thousands or even millions of times greater than what a person can bear. Isn't that true? You can't even imagine it. If I alone know such precious enlightenment, and take it with me when I die, what meaning does it hold? Don't you agree? That's why I share this with the beings of the world. When I say I am Maitreya Buddha, monks say, Maitreya Buddha will only come 5.67 billion years from now. Anyone claiming otherwise is fake. But how can they know it's fake? Wouldn't such a person have to possess extraordinary insight? If they claim it's fake, how would they know? Right? So, when I say I am Maitreya, can they comprehend the enlightened Dharma I know? Can they truly grasp it? That's the question. If they say Maitreya Buddha will arrive in 5.67 billion years, then surely they know everything about it. Bring that person to me, and let's see if they understand enlightenment as I do. Ask them. Even picking up a spoon to eat rice, they don't fully understand it. Sure, they eat rice because it's there with a spoon. They only know the act of eating and enjoy the taste, right? But they don't understand the enlightenment behind eating, right? It's not that I don't know. If I delve into traditional Buddhist teachings, I know them all. Have you heard me recite those teachings? It's amazing, isn't it? Isn't it amazing? It seems normal because I stay quiet, but it's astonishing. If you sit beside me, it's endless. My mind holds countless texts, like the Great Learning, Analects, Mencius, and I Ching. It's all in my head. What wouldn't I know? Most people rely on books, but who else recites fluently like I do? You've never seen anyone like me, have you? It's written in the books. You must not judge people by their outward appearance. Judging by appearances is a mistake. Think about it. When people attend a matchmaking event, they wear makeup, dress beautifully, and present themselves well. Isn't that true? Look at celebrities, some are in their 70s, but are styled to look like young ladies. Isn't that true? An 80-year-old singer, I won't mention his name, but he was already 80 or 86 years old. Came out made up to look young, and sang. But try washing his face, or drop him in water and pull him out again. How will he look? Isn't that right? It is. 100% fooled. You should listen carefully. Meeting someone like that and going home. These days, it's nice, because it's hot these days. How about we go to the beach for a swim? Go to the beach, put them in water and pull them out. This is weird. They looked pretty when they came. Why do they look like this? This is strange. They looked fine when they came, but now, after being in water, they look strange. I must have seen wrong. Wouldn't you think that? Am I right or not? So, do you know how people go on a blind date? They wash their face thoroughly before going out. That's how it should be. People from Yonghwa look pretty even after washing their face. They are pretty. So, the interdependent arising. It's really good. Dependent origination. Why is that? Because everything in the world operates under dependent origination. Understood? So, there is creation and dependent origination. Living intertwined together is the yun of tangling. And parents giving birth to children and coming into this world is the yun of connection. That's why it's called dependent origination. Understood? So, the blooming of flowers. What kind of yun is it? What? Oh, this is really, it's the yun of connection. Entangled meetings forming connections is the yun of tangling. The yun of tangling, if good, stays, if not, it goes back home. But if you use the yun of connection, it must not be abandoned. Isn't that right? So, people should not change their mind after deciding once. Absolutely, if a person changes their mind after deciding, they are not a person either. I don't change, even under any circumstance. I don't change. Would it be acceptable if a person's heart changes back and forth? It's not. Absolutely not. So, there's also a good saying from Buddha. Listen, what is it? Do good deeds. That's a really good saying, isn't it? Isn't it wonderful to tell people to do good deeds? Do good deeds, right? Accumulate virtue. Isn't that a great saying? So, do good deeds, accumulate virtue. Such beautiful words, right? But adding unnecessary details to themed hat's the issue. Even words can be exaggerated or stripped down. That shouldn't happen, right? Living a life of accumulating virtue is beneficial, isn't it? How can everyone live equally well? Interdependence is truly remarkable. The life we live is governed by the law of interdependent origination. Because you and I have formed a connection, we engage in this interdependence, and the interdependence we establish here is what takes us to Yonghwa world. What does that mean? It's difficult, isn't it? You immediately lose track, right, director? Ask him then. Do you know what it means? The road ahead seems long, doesn't it? When I speak, it should come to mind instantly, but it doesn't, does it? That's the gong thought. When I die, I will go to Yonghwa world. And when you die, you too must go to Yonghwa world. So where will you go? To some haunted house? Will you go there? Humans just don't understand these things. I once shared a story about this. I had some business at a temple in Hamyang, in Gyeongsang province. It got late, so I ended up staying the night there. That evening, as I lay down, about 500 soldiers wearing helmets lined up outside the door, standing in formation. The term nanemi in Japanese means standing in line. That's how they were, all lined up. I asked, "Why are you standing here like this?" They said, "We're cold, hungry, and can't live like this anymore." They were asking me to perform a ritual to guide their spirits. I asked, "Who are you?" They replied, "We're the soldiers who died during the Korean War, in 1950. Hamyang is right at the base of Jirizan. During the Jirizan operations, which were the largest in our country, countless soldiers died there, fighting between our troops and the communists. The ghosts of those who died there lined up before me when I arrived, realizing that if they missed this opportunity, they would be forever lost as wandering spirits. They clung to me desperately, about 500 of them in line. So, I told them to leave. At first, there were so many of them. They didn't leave. So, I flung the door wide open and guided them one by one. I sent off all 500 spirits. I didn't know their names or surnames. I only saw their forms. I helped all 500 of them. Did they have travel money? Did they have anything? So, I took out a little money from my bag and said, "Take some, use it for your travel expenses." There was a laywoman who cooked meals for the monk. The laywoman said ghosts came every night. The monk was staying there, and his two cousin monks came to visit and stay overnight. But when the monks slept, the ghosts attacked them. They struck at their necks, but I heard they revived them all. That's what the laywoman said. How terrifying is that? So, I guided all the spirits. This is a true story, right? It's not something I dreamed about. Would Shakyamuni Buddha do such a ritual? So, I said this to the laywoman. Every night, soldiers would come. Beneath the dining hall, at the foot of the hill, they dug a small pit, and even put some carp there. Every night, the ghosts would go there to play. So, after dinner, the laywoman would go down there. "Where are you going?" I asked. "Down there," she said. "Where down there? To the village?" "No," she replied. "At the base of the hill, the ghosts would gather and play. So she would go to them." "Oh, really? Then go ahead," I said. It was summer then, and when I looked down, those spirits were making a racket. The ghosts were making such noise, saying, "Oh, I went somewhere. I went to a banquet and got some food. They were chattering noisily. The laywoman heard it all, and she could see the ghosts very clearly. So, that night, she guided all the ghosts. Later, when she went back there again, after dinner, she didn't go down there anymore. Why don't you go there? The ghosts have all gone somewhere. They're not here anymore. They don't come. Then there must definitely be a way to liberate them, right? There is. There really is. That's why we perform the ancestor liberation rituals. If ghosts existed when we perform the liberation rituals, wouldn't that make the rituals a sham? Liberating ancestors isn't done through chanting alone. When the soldiers were there, what was shown to them was the form they held during their lifetime. They were already dead, killed by bullets, right? So the appearance of the ghosts was the image they had while they were soldiers. They brought that form with them. That's what was shown to me. And so, with the light of enlightenment, I liberated all the soldiers. That's how they were freed. Imagine being shot to death. How much suffering would those dead ghosts have endured? Think about it. Isn't that right? So with that in mind, don't you think it's significant that they are no longer here, thanks to the liberation? Ask the monks. I went there a lot, for several years. Therefore, liberating a soul after death is more difficult than plucking a star from the sky. So, those who received liberation at Yonghwa can be considered blessed by heavenly fortune. Isn't that correct? People blessed by heavenly fortune. Thus, those who performed ancestor liberation rituals at Yonghwa are qualified to go to Yonghwa world. Am I right? By coming here, listening to my teachings, learning the Dharma and the path to enlightenment, you are surely on the right path. In addition, the parents who gave birth to me, my ancestors, are also precious. I came from these ancestors, and leaving them as ghosts, while only I go to Yonghwa world until the end of the world, is not something a good child should do. Therefore, those who came to Yonghwa and held ancestor liberation rituals are truly living Buddhas. Living Buddhas. Understand? I am important, my husband is important, and my children are important, while family is valuable. The selfless act of offering a memorial service for ancestors is the heart of a bodhisattva. I am important, my husband is important, and my children are important. Family is valuable. But selflessly setting aside oneself for the ancestors, to offer a memorial service to that is the heart of a bodhisattva. Think about it. When I perform memorial services for those here, I do it with all sincerity, complete sincerity. So, what did I say about the law of interdependent origination? Interdependence only works with things that are the same. If they're not the same, it's not interdependency, it's falsehood. Interdependence always works with like things. A hand connects with another hand. Understood? It only works with similar things. Otherwise, interdependence doesn't exist. Got it? When a person dies, the body disappears, leaving only the soul, and the soul exists as light. When a person dies, the body disappears, leaving only the soul, and the soul exists as light. Spirits are light. When you come to Yonghwa Temple on a Sunday, many spirits are here. Spirits, even though there are many ghosts around, you don't see them. Even if they're standing beside you, you don't bump into them, because they have no physical body. But they're there, standing or sitting, because the soul is light. Light connects with light. Do you understand? How can reciting sutras alone help these spirits? You need to understand the principles. People are inherently human. When someone dies, they cannot transform into something else. Why is that? Because without similarity, interdependence doesn't work. The same applies to the gong thought. Got it? The gong thought cannot manifest into something else. Got it? Mountains are home to trees and grass, not fish. Mountains are home to trees and grass, not fish. Can fish live in the mountains? No, they cannot. Fish live in water. That's how fish practice interdependence to live. Understand? That's why anything that is not the same is not dependent origination. It's all a lie. And if you commit many sins, karma accumulates. And because of that karma, one is reborn through the 6 realms of samsara. The idea of being reborn as a human is purely a lie. Do you understand? Then, even among friends, do they need to fight until their heads burst to grow closer? Wouldn't karma accumulate through such fighting? The more they fight, the more karma piles up heaven among friends. Isn't that right? And would they grow closer as a result? Right? That's why, though Buddhism has existed for thousands of years, the religion that was believed in the past and the awakened teachings are brought to the world are as different as heaven and earth. So, the traditional Dharma teachings must now be discarded. Isn't it time to let them go? They must be discarded. Do you understand? When you break them down one by one, there's nothing of value left. Maybe 3 or 4 useful things. What are they? Live kindly. Be kind. That's a good thing, isn't it? Do many good deeds. Accumulate merit. Shakyamuni said 3 good things like this. But this is not awakening. Do you understand? So, while studying these good books is important, your mindset is what really matters, right? Isn't that so? Thus, no matter how much you've lived in this world and then departed, it's not just humans. All beings in this world live and eventually depart. Isn't that right? And what did I say? A dead persimmon tree cannot bloom flowers or bear fruit. Only when the flowers bloom can there be fruit, right? Do you understand? Then what is fruit? What is fruit? If there are no flowers and fruit forms, it's not truly fruit. Do you understand? Isn't that so? Why are you picking at me? That's true, isn't it? So, fundamentally speaking, there's nothing in this world to eat. Who is truly great? Everyone lives with sin. Isn't that right? So, while living with that in mind, humans develop desires to earn money and to become wealthy. That's how human progress has been made, right? In Yonghwa world, you won't have to graze like animals. No need to cook and eat, and there's no need to commit sins. Since there's no sin, there's no death, because there's no sin. Plus, you need a body to eat something. If there's no body, what is there to eat? You need something to eat. Isn't that right? So, ghosts don't eat food, but satisfy their appetite with smells. With smells. That's why, when you go to banquet halls, restaurants, or places dealing with food, ghosts are always swarming. So, when women are working and break dishes, it's because ghosts meddled. That's why they drop them. Therefore, living an honest life is good. Even though it's not perfect honesty, it's living decently. So, even if I have children, if I hadn't had them, it would be fine. But since I did, what can I do? I have to create the conditions for them to grow and live. Isn't that my duty? Isn't that right? When you dig deep into this, truly, it's hard to live as a human being. Isn't that right? It's tough. But what can we do? We can't stop living, as we are born into life. We have to eat, so we have to take lives to eat at least. Isn't that right? Did you learn a lot today? Did you learn a lot? Can you hear me back there? Can you hear? Yes, you can hear. It's nice to come to Yonghwa, right? I read many wise words for you today. I read a lot. So, I took those words and made them into text. I made text out of it. I created the text, taking out the characters.
(56억 7천만 년) 후 미륵부처님께서 오신다. 이것은 사실인가 아니면 조작된 낭설인가? 조회수 1억 회를 돌파한 한국 불교의 기념비적 법문의 탄생. 안양 수리산 용화사 용화미륵대불 특별 법문 125부. 만물의 기본 원리 공사상, 생명의 모태 광명의 빛, 살아있음의 증거 연기법, 사후세계의 진실 윤회와 환생. 수천 년간 왜곡되어 전파된 기존 불법에 모순된 깨우침, 그 뒤틀린 이치를 바로잡다. 안양 수리산 용화상 용화미륵대불 특별 법문 125부. 지금 바로 확인하세요.
우주 만물의 법칙, 공사상. 공사상의 창시자, 용화미륵부처님의 가르침. 깨우친 부처는 몸에서 빛이 나오시며 광명의 빛으로 중생을 구제하신다. 만물을 창조하는 태양의 빛이 광명의 빛이며 인간이 환생하게 할 수 있는 것은 오직 깨우친 부처님의 광명의 빛이다. 살아계신 부처님의 광명의 빛, 그것이 곧 공사상이다. 수계를 받는다는 것은 광명의 빛, 즉 공사상을 내 몸 안에 품는 것이다. 죽음 이후 윤회는 없고 단지 모든 것은 소멸될 뿐이다. 깨우친 부처님의 광명의 빛으로 수계를 받으면 죽은 뒤에도 용화세계를 볼 수 있는 눈을 갖게 된다. 천도와 수계는 깨우친 부처님의 광명의 빛을 통해서만 가능하다. 죽어서 천도받지 말고 살아있을 때 수계를 받아라. 보고, 듣고, 확인할 수 있는 것만을 믿고 따르라. 죽은 것은 연기할 수 없고 오직 살아있는 것만이 연기할 수 있다. 금을 인위적으로 만들 수 없듯이 부처는 처음부터 부처로 오는 것이지 기도나 참선으로 중생이 부처가 될 수는 없다. 단 수계받은 자는 광명의 빛을 받아 생불이 될 수 있다. 이 모든 공사상은 용화미륵부처님에 의해 창조되었다. 하늘과 땅, 바다와 산처럼 생명과 창조의 근원이며 한계가 없는 영원 불멸의 진리, 공사상. 용화미륵부처님의 공사상을 매주 일요일 안양 수리산 용화사에서 직접 보고 듣고 만나보십시오.
예수님의 12제자, 석가모니 부처님의 안한존자, 그리고 깨우쳐 오신 미륵부처님의 공사상을 세상에 알린 태명 해우스님. 출가 그리고 수행. 석가모니 불께 수기를 받고 미륵부처님을 만나 미륵불법을 펴기까지 조회수 100만 회를 돌파한 태명 해우스님의 출가 수행기. 불교의 현주소. 천도되지 못한 부모님과 끝없는 천도제의 굴레. 정직한 수행자의 비참했던 과거부터 깨우쳐 오신 생불 용화미륵부처님을 마주하기까지 거짓 천도제와 잘못된 가르침으로부터 기도하고 빌어서는 이룰 수 없다는 진리를 깨닫기까지. 살아계신 미륵부처님의 몸에서 나오는 광명의 빛을 처음 마주한 살아있는 증인의 생생한 목소리와 진리를 관통하는 깨우친 출가 수행기. 태명 해우스님의 출가 수행기. 지금 바로 확인하세요.